Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to Battle Brothers Season 3. As today, I'd say our business in Kraken is probably complete, at least for the time being. You know, not the most exciting trip. I really anticipated a bit more peril, but I will say it was definitely good for the rookies. You know, if nothing else, it helped build up their XP and their confidence. That said, let's grab our caravan contract and get back to it. Time waits for no man, battle brother or otherwise. And thus we must forever set our sights on bigger and better things. Even if Angled itself is a bit of a backwoods fly speck on the map. Actually, that is one thing. Ooh, footprints. Shoot. A shame we're locked to the track, otherwise I'd definitely check that out. You come over a sand dune to see a half-dozen men. They're wearing black cloaks and have their sleeve-sheathed hands holding onto one another to form a complete circle. Despite every one of their heads being down, they all seem to sense your presence and turn to stare. One man lets his hands go and steps forward. Davkul awaits us all, traveler. Even the gilded path permits his patience. You know, my drill sergeant might have something to say about that, but, he's probably been out of the mask for so long you wouldn't even recognize him as such regardless. Also, he doesn't have two hands, so he couldn't participate in your circle. So I guess we'll just leave you to it? You offer a modest hello and goodbye to the Black Cloaks, then move on. They do not resist you, nor call out to you in any manner. The last you see of them, they are holding hands again and have their heads crooned forward and staring into the sands. There is not a single jug of water or basket of food anywhere to be seen. If they had not come here to die, what could possibly save them? You know, probably best not to think about that. I'm fairly certain Davkul's not about saving people. Man, it's a shame we didn't have Book Thief active for that one. I was tempted to keep him semi-retired but still on the bench just for events like that. But, you know, we also needed a drill sergeant, so it is what it is. Caravan run complete, modest gold gained. Not much really keeping us here in Angle other than the obvious raider contract. No notable recruits. Let's see what we've got going on here. Meinrad the Elder's got two papers in hand. There are faces sketched on them. We caught these two the other day. Hanged them. Burned the remains. You shrug. Congratulations? The man is not very amused. Now we've gotten word that their brigand friends are coming to exact revenge on us. And yeah, we need your help to fight them off. You interested? Oh, a defense contract. For almost 1,000 gold. Well, I hate to lose a day just sitting around waiting for these guys to show up, but also that is a pretty hefty payday for a one skull. Yeah, we'll take it. We're not technically in the desert, so in theory this should be normal brigands, which carries with it the promise of potential actual equipment upgrades. Cheap food. Plentiful nets. We'll hold off on any real trading until after we deal with the raiders. At that point, it'll remove the negative price onus. Sadly, not much else to keep ourselves busy with while we're waiting. We don't want to stray too far, otherwise I'd be tempted to go hit one of those camps. And I think long-term we do need to set our sights on visiting Himmelschwat, at least briefly, just to grab a unit of quality wood for our bowyer. But yeah, I guess we just kind of hang out for now. Wait for these guys to arrive. If we stray too far, they'll raise the town, which kind of defeats the purpose of what we were hired to do. Hopefully they come in from the south. If they spawn into the north, they'll have to go around this entire bay here, which will slow things down a bit. Also, I noticed we did not get any militia on this one, which, you know, fair enough. After last time, I suppose I can't really blame them. I wonder what Sigmar's up to. Oh, here we go. The brigands are in sight. Prepare for battle. Protect the town. You sure about that? Oh, yep. There they are. They did, in fact, spawn north of Angeln. Let's take them out. Marksmen and raiders, an actual fight. The raiders are caught off guard as the brigands attack by boat. Drawn by thick, acrid plumes of smoke rising from the docks, the raiders rush to the rescue. Oh, wow. Bowman doesn't hold back. His first shot arcs perfectly, briefly glinting in the sun, before planting feathers deep in the eye socket of a marauding miscreant. A scattering of projectiles are fired in return, glancing off the staunch shield wall the raiders have assembled. And the brigands begin their wary approach. The boldest of the bandits takes a few steps forward, only to be greeted by a crossbow bolt clattering off his thick chain. Others push forward, shields raised, heads low, more wary in their approach. And the raiders push forward to meet them. These are no simple desert nomads, and thus the raiders approach accordingly. A thrower threatened, their back line within striking range. The initial tentative jabs taken by the raiders are mere probing strikes to test their opponent's skills and defenses. A few slip through here and there, tearing at chain, bruising flesh, but no particularly telling strikes as of yet. And the brigands settle into a defensive posture, clearly nervous as they feel the noose tightening. More projectiles fly, clattering off shields, but none finding their mark. Zarmal rushes in from the side, sights set on an exposed archer. An axe flips end over end, glancing off Annie's shoulder. Another bandit shieldman wheels about, interposing betwixt Zarmal and his would-be prey. Rook moves around the side, a careful jab, his pike biting deep into a bandit swordsman's thigh. Trip moves in from the north, dashing the throwing axes out of another bandit's hand. Javelins thud heavily into a bandit's kite shield. A pair of throwing axes from Val drops both him and the man behind him. And the rest of the raiders rush forward, eagerly engaging the bandit back line. Sword slash, flails, swing. Rev moves up, another precise strike. Digging so deep into a bandit's leg that it grinds against bone. Zarmal pushes past a panicking shieldsman, blade sliding into the chest of the archer behind. Rook steps up, impaling another archer's arm. Trip catches a bandit swordsman from the side, hamstringing him and then slitting his throat as he goes down to one knee. The Raiders' backline moves up. No clear shots, but eager to rejoin the fray. Though, honestly, they might not have time. A thrust of Verlin's spear punctures a bandit's lung. A second strike, and the man breathes no more. A shieldman tries to flee. A flash of Zarmal's blade and Verlin's spear, and he falls. Zarmal catches an archer on the backswing. Bicep carved to the bone. Rook impales the bandit crossbowman, dumping his carcass off to the side. The fight is all but won. The Raiders now clamoring to claim the last few kills. Oh, sorry. Perhaps a mite bit too eagerly as one of Tommy's tosses glances off the edge of Zarmal's shield. Though I will say, these last two bandits really are kind of dragging things out. Suppose we should really lean into that. See if we can at least strip some extra armor. Verlin puts down the last of the archers, curious as to why his comrades hadn't already done so. And he stabs the last bandit through the hand. And as the man scrambles to flee, Rev gamely cracks him across the legs with the haft of his polearm, then runs him through as he falls, literally nailing him to the ground. Oh yes, and that is what we wanted to see. Lots of potential upgrades here. But I'll sort that out later. Let's, Oh! Flesh and bone scattered across the field, hardly discernible from one owner to the next. Black buzzards cycle overhead, halos of chevron shadows rippling over the dead. The birds waiting for the mourners to clear out. King's Rook the Sergeant comes to your side and asks if they should start the return trip to Meinrad the Elder. You leave the sight of the battlefield behind, and nod. Not gonna lie, I really figured we'd have a second wave, but fair enough, we'll take it. Zarmal hits level 4, that's gifted. But normal stats first. And he continues to impress. We'll take the melee, we'll take the MDef. And we will take some much needed resolve. No reason to squander that max roll. Which also does hit our 20-point target in MDef. Obviously, we'll keep cranking it regardless, but, I mean, lovely to see someone actually hitting that at level 4. As for his other gain, we need health, we need fatigue, we need resolve, but I think we gotta go ranged F. It is pretty safe to say he is going to be losing the shield at some point, so all the more important to be somewhat projectile resistant. But, you know, just the token 10 points, nothing much beyond that. As for Val, pretty straightforward. We'll take the range, we'll take the initiative, and I guess the max roll in MDef. Just in case he does get stuck in melee. Obviously a situation best avoided, but still good to be prepared, just in case. And as for the perk, man, we're down to our last 4, so we do need to be very careful here. Quick Hands has great utility. Overwhelm and Fearsome are both ones I was already planning around. But I'd also like Kill Frenzy, Berserk. That's 5. Oh, no, wait. Right, we took Student on Valen. So actually, we do have 5 slots left. Once we soft cap at 11, it'll disable Student and give us a refund. Right, okay, so we do have room. Meinrad the Elder welcomes your return with a glass of wine. Drink up, Sellsword. You've earned it. It tastes particular. Haughty, if that could be a flavor. Your employer swings around his desk, taking a gleefully happy seat. You managed to protect the town just as he promised. I am most impressed. He nods, tipping his goblet toward a wooden chest. Most impressed. You open the chest to find a bevy of golden crowns. Hey, all in a day's work. Nice to actually be appreciated, though. And with the condition cleared, let's go ahead and grab some goods. We'll take pretty much all the food, as well as the nets. But I think that's about it. And there was something else I wanted to do while we were here. I mean, I guess we could stand to clear some space. There was something I was talking about earlier. On our way from... Oh, that was it. Yes, I wanted to take a look at the harbor. Right. Because, as suspected, it does not actually connect to Karakin. That was something I was wondering about after last episode. Anyway, let's push on. I think we are going to start angling up towards Himmelschwacht to collect some quality wood, which means our next short-term stop is Wallen. And we've got tracks. Bare feet. Goblin Raiders. Dead of night. Perfect time to hit them. Oh, though. I do need to, at some point, toss that night vision potion to Mark. We've got that helmet on Bowman, so he's still good to go. But Mark will struggle under these sorts of conditions, so I guess we'll go ahead and pull him out for now. The raiders settle in roadside midway to Wallen, ready to set up camp, but a sudden rustle of brush catches Armal's ear. A sudden shout, a swipe of his blade. He fails to find purchase, but he nonetheless warns the raiders of a half-formed ambush bearing down on them. Arrow's the first to react. Bow strung in a single fluid motion. An arrow sent arcing overhead, but likewise failing to find its mark. The rest of the raiders try to rally, still thrown off by the sudden assault. But adrenaline surging, eyes trying to adapt to the low light conditions. Let's not overextend with Cetrus. We'll put him on defensive footing. Random and Verlin are the first to find much luck. Battering and stabbing a bush-concealed figure. And the terrain seems to come alive. Numerous other bushes suddenly scampering about the grass. A lash of wooden limbs, a spray of poison thorns assailing the raiders' line. Zarmal, now recovered from his initial surprise, handily dispatches the first SWAT figure before turning his attention to the next. Shield held high, warding off arrow after arrow. Bowman fires back in turn, a pained yelp, marking his partial success. Valen squints through the darkness. A hurled axe lops off an oversized ear. Rev steps up, eyes locked on a howling hooligan. A thrust of his pike, and the figure falls silent. Annie and Random move to flank another figure. The Random does seem a mite bit off-kilter, his fear of greenskins coming to the fore. Another volley from the arboreal archers. And this time a poison thorn finds purchase. Rassel grunts, poison surging through his veins. Jagged blades thrust, leaving shallow but painful and bleeding wounds. And the raiders respond in kind. Rassel seems to suddenly struggle with his polearm, though he should technically still have enough action points to actually swing. Huh. Weird. Alright, just hang back, bud. Rook steps up, puncturing a goblin pikeman. An axe from Valen finishes the job. And the goblin shieldman starts warily backing away, though that does little to thwart Annie's flail. Weighted head wrapping about, impacting the goblin's long and crooked nose with an almost comical crunch. Random quickly follows suit, a swing of his own flail catching the thing in the back of the head, driving it face first to the dirt. And the rest of the raiders rush forward, setting into the fiendish foliage. One shivering shrubbery sprints into the darkness, the rest throwing down their bows, drawing jagged blades. A thrust from Rook, an enemy archer falls. Another volley from Valen, another poacher pruned. A toss from Tommy. Another errant limb, trimmed. Random and Verlin make short work of the three-limbed goblin. The rest of the raiders' sight set beyond. The ambitious ambusher's leafy garb may have helped them with their initial approach, but now, as they try to flee, it simply makes them all the more obvious. Cetrus quickly runs down the final foe. A grasp at the ghillie suit is all it takes to slow him down. A notched blade glints darkly in the moonlight. The figure caught, but not ready to go down without a fight. An ambition immediately thwarted, as a charge from Rook ends, with the figure impaled upon his pike. The raiders roll the fallen fiends. Their ghillie suits intriguing, though sadly too small for their much larger frames. But they do still find a few things worth taking nonetheless. Albeit with some slight finagling, jockeying for space in their already heavily laden wagon. And the raiders push on. Thoughts of camp discarded in the wake of their recent close call. Wallen awaits. Though it would seem that Wallen hasn't fared much better than the raiders. 2 skull missing villagers. Seems pretty straightforward. Alps. Hex. You find Walram of Wallen reading a scroll. He throws the paper at you and asks you to read off the names. The handwriting is difficult, but not more so than the names themselves. You stop and apologize, stating that you are not from these parts. The man nods and takes the scroll back. "'Tis all right, sellsword. If you were wondering, those were the names of men, women, and children who have passed in the last week." Last week? There were a lot of names on that list. The man, seeming to read you, nods somberly. "Aye, we're in a bad way. So many lives lost. We believe this to be the work of foul creatures, beasts beyond our ability to reason. Obviously, we'd like you to go find and destroy them. Would you be interested in such a task, mercenary?" Very much yes. That actually falls right in line with our current goals. Being paid to actually do it is just a bonus. Also, yeah, I guess this is just a normal terror contract. Direwolves, webnecked. I'd actually prefer hyenas or snakes, but I think we're too far north for that. Yeah, I think that's fine. Though it will depend on exactly what we end up sighting and when we end up engaging. Oh, boo, webnecked. Alright, fine. At least it's a known quantity. And we can always use more poison and reinforced nets. But let's not engage in the sand. As the raiders peer about the sun-scorched savanna, the terrain almost seems to ripple. Their initial thought being that another group of goblin ambushers are approaching. Alas, as they draw closer, they soon find it's something much worse. "Easy, hold steady," Rook growls. "They're not but oversized bugs." "Arachnids, actually," Verlin utters under his breath. A difference that Eerie appreciates at least. "What, the blacksmith?" one of the other newer recruits utters. "What's he got to do with this?" "Head in the game, lads," Valen growls, axe hefted and held at the ready. And the chatter subsides as the raiders grimly go about their work. Diego charges in, slashing open a bloated abdomen, with Mark putting the wounded webneck down with a well-placed bolt. Rev impales another, limbs grasping and spasming grotesquely. Random charges in. Nose wrinkled, uttering sounds of absolute disgust as he pounds another pest into paste. Yet even with all the beasts slain in the initial exchange, the crawling swarm quickly spills over their line. Tommy menaced. The front line literally tied down. The sodden pop of wet eggs promises that this pestilent wave will not soon end. Two quick shots and Bowman puts down the monster, menacing Tommy. A toss from Valen, two more limbs fly, freed from their fleshy host. The raiders on the south are close to overwhelmed. The raiders on the north faring slightly better. Tommy rushes forward, hurling past Rook, impaling another bloated torso. Drakiith falls back, reinforcing the north line. And on the south, Random finds himself swiftly overwhelmed. Berlin's quick to hop down from his perch, reinforcing his position, as yet more webnecked appear on the horizon. Now menacing Bowman. And Tommy. Figures. Random hissing as oversized mandibles find purchase in his flesh. Though pleasantly surprised as he finds the poison no longer carries its customary sting. Val splits one down the side on the south. Could switch Tommy off to his mace, but let's hold off for a sec. We've still got some options here. Oh, come on, man. Feeling warrior scrabbling at his back, McLeod lets the loyal hound loose. And the hirsute brute gamely guts one of the monsters menacing it. And the fight rages on, the raiders' efforts stalling out. Armor dinged and dented, flesh starting to tear. Limbs heavy, festooned as they are. Warrior wrenches the beast apart, head whipping back and forth furiously. On the back line, 2 more tosses from Valen. One striking a webneck dead, the other pinning a second in place. Rev follows up that strike, gouging his pike into the pinned webneck's face. Rook holds another at bay, whilst wrestling with the strands, festooning himself in random. Tommy kills a beast and impales the leg of another, whilst Verlin curves down yet one more, then moves to reinforce Random's position. Diego lacerates a webneck. Before McLeod puts it down, then takes a moment to saw the thick strands binding his limbs. Random raises his shield, immune to the spider's poison, but not necessarily to their knife-like mandibles. And yet more pour forth, showing no signs of stopping. Trip wavers. Valen moves to support, a javelin piercing 3 of a webneck's 8 glittering eyes. Rev charges another, fully running it through. Green mucus-like muck seeping from its gaping wound. McLeod lops off yet another grasping limb, his sword buried into the beast's neck. Bowman waves Mark off, glued in place and yet still quite capable of defending himself. Mark nods, stepping away and promptly putting a bolt through another webneck's chest. A lash of Drakiith's cleaver. Another webnecked dispatched. Fatigue sets in, breathing coming in ragged gasps, limbs heavy, muscles burning. And yet, slowly but surely, the tide begins to turn. As one by one the remaining webneck begin to waver, primal survival instinct wrestling with the voracious hunger that drives them ever forward. Not ready to break just yet, it would seem, but we are getting there. A gnash of teeth, a wrench of his muscular neck, and Warrior works his way ever further down the line. Valen skewers yet another webnecked, his quivers growing ever lighter. Diego pushes north, reinforcing Trip. Their blades flash in tandem, the beast bisected. Goopy organs oozing out onto the ground. Rev drives his pike haft deep into the side of yet another bloated beast. Tommy manages a clumsy toss, but then stumbles back, gasping and wheezing. Adrenaline wanes. Exertion takes its toll. Which actually does make me wonder if we should try to squish recovery into our throwers' builds. McLeod carves into a webneck's face, one of its mandibles hanging by a thread. Rook lurches unsteadily. A clumsy thrust, nonetheless finding its mark. Another webneck falls. And finally, the tide is indeed turned. The crawling carpet begins to recede. Warrior, perhaps unwisely, gamely gives chase. Valen takes a few steps after him, pausing only to stab yet another spider. The other raiders likely moving up to follow their canine companion, lest he bite off more than he can chew. Though at least half the raiders' numbers hang back. Still gasping and wheezing, clutching at stinging wounds, recovering their breath. Taking a moment to simply collect themselves after a hard-fought battle. Yeah, I really should give some serious consideration to adding recover to most of our back line. It's not been a huge issue thus far, but we are getting to the point where enemy numbers, some of these more enduring battles, will definitely start putting that to the test. And whilst they can bring a lot of firepower to the party early on, once they start flagging, things can quickly end up going south. Man, but what would I give up on the throwers? Kill Frenzy and Berserk. Well, I mean, if we take Berserk, we definitely need Recover. Killing Frenzy is just too good to really pass up. So I suppose by process of elimination, we'd either have to drop Fearsome or Overwhelm, and between the two, I feel like I'd rather have Fearsome. The raiders rally around Warrior. Blades rise and fall, the last of the web-necked quickly hacked to pieces. And just like that, the battlefield falls silent, but for the occasional grasping rasp of not quite dead web-necked. The raiders make the rounds, hacking the rest to pieces, even as Eerie hobbles onto the battlefield, cheerfully pointing out the choicest parts to take. The mercenaries scour the field, hacking and sawing at the spider's stiff remains to take back to Walren of Olin. Even in death, the web-necks are ghastly, looking only a moment away from flinching back to life and wrapping themselves around the nearest breathing animal. Their horrifying features and surreal size does not stop some sellswords from dancing around, clicking their tongues and hissing, and all around preying upon the phobias of those less inclined to go near the damn things. Which, you know, is all fun and games until someone like Random freaks out and punches you in the throat. But, you know, raiders will be raiders. And some lessons are well earned. Speaking of which, Drakiith hits level 7. And, oof. Kind of whiffs on the rolls. We'll take the +2 melee. And then shore up a couple of secondaries. Still pretty middle of the road overall, but he's hanging in there. And Mark Giemza hits level 4. That's gifted. Obviously, we'll take the +5 in range. Why would we not? Still flubbing those resolve checks, though. That is rough. We'll bump that with gifted. we will take the +5 initiative. And then either fatigue or RDEF, but I think we'll go fatigue. I think Mark was struggling a bit there. And then for gifted, pretty much more of the same. We'll take the range, we'll take the resolve, and then one other thing. +4 RDEF. Let's head on back. Cats hiss and flee the second you step into Walram of Wallen's room. A few dogs, always the sort for a mystery, run about your legs and sniff the spider carcass, their noses crinkling and pulling away, but always coming back for more. The townsman is writing notes, and he can hardly believe his eyes. He sets his quill pen down. Is that a giant spider? You nod. He smiles and picks his quill pen back up. Perhaps I should have suggested you bring a very big shoe. Your payment's there in the satchel. Go on, take it. It's all there. And you can leave the corpse. I'd like to get a closer look at the creature. Oh, of course, it's all yours. In fact, if you give him half a chance, I'm sure the anatomist would love to talk your ears off about it. You might have overlapping areas of interest. That said, this does feel like a good place to call it. We're not going to get the best prices here, but we do need to clear up some space, so we'll hit the pause button for now. I will take care of the off-screen inventory management and other assorted bookkeeping. And we will pick up here next time, as we continue heading to Wassermacht, I believe. Who knows, maybe we'll glimpse some new beasties whilst we're up there. Some new flavor of nightmare to keep the raiders on their toes. See you then. Oh, and special thanks to the raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Eerie V23, Revenant, Alois, Arrow Bowman, Dragon Matrix 7, Drakiith, EgonAlter, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Kazorm, Lady Shayna, Mark Giemza, Nathan Welch Jr., OverlordPherom, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Tomasz Piątkowski, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.